Hello, sports lovers. A warm welcome to the most authoritative sporting channel here on social media. This is your boy, man. Today's episode, I'm going to preview the fight between Joe the Juggernaut Joyce and Filip El Animal Hrgovic. This is a very interesting fight by all standards, and it will be very, very competitive because both fighters are at a crossroad. Whoever wins this fight will get to resurrect his career, and whoever loses this fight would be down the pecking order when it comes to top heavyweights, and his title opportunity may be in the rearview mirror. But before I get into this fight, let me state that these two fighters are 2016 Olympic graduates, with Joe Joyce coming up with the silver medal, whilst El Animal Filip Hrgovic won the bronze medal. But first, let me give you the tale of the tape. Joe Joyce is the older man of the two. He is 39 years, Filip 32. Both men are equal in size, equal in height. That is 6'6", whilst the reach advantage goes to Hrgovic, who is 82 inches in terms of reach, whilst Joe Joyce is 80 in terms of reach. They are both orthodox fighters, and their last weigh-in is quite interesting. Joe Joyce came in his last fight against Derek Chisoro at 281.2 pounds, whilst Filip Hrgovic against Daniel Dynamite Dubois came in at 247.4 pounds. But interestingly, there has been a shift in weight. Yesterday at the weigh-in, Joe Joyce came in at 275.1 pounds, whilst Filip Hrgovic came in at a career heaviest of 250.6 pounds. So this is quite interesting. I'll be talking about the weights later. Their record is Filip Hrgovic has lost one fight in 18 and with 14 KOs, whilst Joe the Juggernaut Joyce has won 16 fights, lost 3 with 15 KOs. So this is a very, very interesting fight by all standards, because Filip Hrgovic was a late replacement. Was he really preparing for Joe the Juggernaut Joyce? Was Joe the Juggernaut Joyce preparing for Filip Hrgovic? And the answer is no. But what are the adjustments these two pugilists must make at the Copper Arena in Manchester tonight in order to secure the victory? In Filip Hrgovic's last fight, when he realized that Daniel Dubois was taking his punishment and was still relentless, he gave up. You could see him give up, whilst Joe Joyce in his last fight was not so much focused in the ring, having been knocked down by Derek Chisoro, with Derek Chisoro coming up with a unanimous decision in that particular fight. Joe Joyce was focused only on the attack and not on the defensive part, and that, if he repeats that, would be to the advantage of no other than the animal Filip Hrgovic. But Filip Hrgovic needs to do a lot of adjustments in this particular round, in this particular fight, because in his last fight, that was the first time he was fighting without his father, and he did not turn up for that particular fight. So he needs to put the loss of his father, who has been his guardian angel throughout his career, behind him, and now face the fight as a man who is on a mission and who has a lot of things to prove to himself and the entire world that he is an elite heavyweight, as he was predicted or anticipated to be before the fight with Daniel Dubois. First, Filip Hrgovic in this particular fight must be on the front foot. He must use his jab. Being the man with a longer reach, he must use his jab and be very, very clever, be defensively sound, because Joe Joyce is easy to hit. He has decent foot movements, but he is slow in terms of upper body movements. So Filip Hrgovic must keep on popping his jab and get Joe Joyce's attention. It must not be a measuring jab. It must be a jab that is popping, that is hitting. And with Joe Joyce having been dented now twice by the Chinese power Zhili Zhen, and also dropped by Derek Chisoro, I think that if those jabs keep coming at him, his confidence will start deteriorating, because Joe Joyce's fight plan is often on forward movement and confidence. So if he doesn't have that, then that means that he is lacking the two basic tools in his arsenal, because the chin we can categorically say that is gone, which was his first arsenal, but the chin is categorically gone. But with Joe Joyce, with Filip Hrgovic not seem to be interested in the Daniel Dubois fight, that should give you a clue that when he is not having his way, he easily gives up. So what does Joe Joyce also have to do? Joe Joyce must use a lot of head movement, get into range, throw a lot of punches, and he must not get tagged easily, because if he gets tagged easily, that will give Filip Hrgovic loads of confidence. So he must use a lot of head movement, get into range, and apply a lot of pressure on the midsection of Filip Hrgovic. Yesterday, looking at Filip Hrgovic, when he was bending down to wear his tracksuit, you could see that there was some amount of excess fat around his belly, and Joe the Juggernaut Joyce needs to take so advantage of him. I think that Joe the Juggernaut Joyce is the stronger man of the two. He is naturally, he looks naturally stronger than Filip Hrgovic, but Filip Hrgovic would lose one thing in this particular fight. That is his speed, because he is coming in at a career heaviest. Someone who started his career at 220 pounds. I understand that Filip Hrgovic is a huge heavyweight, but I think that Filip Hrgovic should have stayed in this particular range, that is 245 pounds. That would make him quite fast in this particular round. But maybe he wants to take a lot, if he's being punished, he wants to be able to absorb the punishment and have a lot of punches behind when he throws, but that can also go against you. But for Joe Joyce, he should relentlessly pressure Filip Hrgovic, because he seems to be non-focused, lackadaisical when that is done to him, and that will make the fight exciting. With Filip Hrgovic having gone to someone like Abel Sanchez, who is a man who trains you to use your jab. Most of his trainers have a most of his fighters have a very educated jab. Talking about Abel Sanchez, I think that Filip Hrgovic, who has a decent jab, should use that to his advantage. And he must not just be throwing the 1-2s, he must be mixing it up and get Joe Joyce thinking. But for Joe Joyce, another thing he should do is that he should put his hand up high. With his chin gone and having slow upper body movement, his hands must be high in order to block some of the shots and for him to also throw some of the punishment. And Filip Hrgovic, being the lighter man of the two and being the more skillful fighter, should use angles to his advantage, which will definitely cause Joe Joyce loads of problems. But for this fight, I see Filip Hrgovic coming out with a knockout victory in the later rounds, because if Derek Chisoro can knock you down, I think that Filip Hrgovic can definitely knock you out. So thank you. That is my take on this particular fight. I am predicting a late knockout for Filip Hrgovic in this particular fight, and I think that Joe Joyce would then become a journeyman in his career. Filip Hrgovic can go on to do greater things, but if this fight definitely goes to the scorecard, I still predict that Filip Hrgovic, being the younger man of the two, would be given the victory, because Frank Warren can make more out of Filip Hrgovic than he can make more out of Joe Joyce. Even though Joe Joyce would be the home fighter, I think that there is more bright future for Filip Hrgovic, and that is where the judges will tilt towards when it comes to a scorecard decision. But I am predicting a late round knockout for Filip Hrgovic. This is my take on the Joe Joyce versus Filip Hrgovic fight. Thank you for watching. Stay positive. Your greatness has no limit. And also remember to hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon, express your views in the comment section, because it's very vital to us, and share so others can like. Thank you.